And hello, everyone. Welcome to the year 2046 or 2036 or 2024, wherever we're currently at. I'm here as ever when it's Doctor Who season to be talking about the last episode of Doctor Who, which in this case was episode 4, 73 Yards. And I'm joined by the indomitable Barry Nugent, as always. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I can confirm that I am probably a lot more than 73 yards away from you, but I am here.
Yeah, I mean, probably 73 minutes away by car, door to door-ish.
Yeah, see what you did there?
Yeah. It's also a lie. It's a bit less than that, but, you know, it's close enough.
It's fine. For the sake of argument, let's just say it is.
Yeah, no one needs to know, to be fair.
No.
They might just think, oh, wow, that's really clever. And he's worked that stuff out, like Russell T Davies working out what the right distance for someone to be away without seeing their faces. Or they might not.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, I have thoughts. So should we do a blurb? Let's do a blurb. Then.
Yeah, let's do a blurb and get into it. I'm interested to hear your thoughts there.
Let's do the most misleading blurb you've ever seen in your life. So 73 yards, landing on the Welsh coast, the Doctor and Ruby embark on the strangest journey of their lives. In a rain-lashed pub, the locals sit in fear of ancient legends coming to life.
Wow.
That's a completely different episode to what I watched, I'll be honest.
I was going to say, yeah.
Except for line 1. They did indeed land on the Welsh coast.
Yeah, I was going to say, what? As for like the first 3, the Doctor and Ruby, after that. Yeah. Okay, so I went first last episode. So you go first this time around. What did you think of 73? Is 73 not 76?
73 yards. 73 yards.
Not to be confused with number 73, which was a Saturday morning TV show on ITV back in the day.
Number 73, 3. Do you know, I'm glad you said that because I know no one else who remembers that.
Yeah, I mean,
Buchanan and Sandy Totsvig.
That's it, Sandy Totsvig. Yep, I remember it.
Yeah. I see now I don't feel mental anymore. Well, I mean, I do, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
Anyway, 73 yards.
Yes.
So, I'll be honest here, I enjoyed the hell out of this episode right up until a point where it became nonsense to me. That's the TLDR.
I can see that on the side. And its review is like, yeah, it was great right up until it became nonsense.
And you know me, I can cope with nonsense, but there's nonsense and then there's nonsense.
Okay. Well, I'm interested to hear when it became nonsense. When it
really broke for me.
Yeah, but I want to hear like your overall.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, right? There's some things I really liked about this. I quite liked the fact there was no Doctor and then also no opening titles.
Yes, which I didn't realise. It made me go. I need to go back and sort of rewatch it because someone then said, "Oh yeah," and I really like the fact there was no titles. And I was like, "What do you mean there was no titles?"
So literally about half an hour in, I was like, "Wow, this is a long cold open."
Yeah. You're right.
But then it kind of like I was thinking about it afterwards, and the one positive thought I had afterwards was actually I really like that because basically the Doctor wasn't there. There was no Doctor, so there's no Doctor Who, so there's no titles, and that I don't know whether that was deliberate with that kind of line of thinking, but that's where I got to with it, and I did like that. The other thing to point out, I mean, it's one of those Doctor Light episodes which we don't really see much of anymore since like the David Tennant days. But the whole reason for it was this was the episode that they filmed first because that's when Ncuti was filming Sex Education still. And they needed to get going. So they filmed this first. It was a Doctor Light episode for that reason. And that's why. So I kind of felt a bit for Millie Gibson, who's come in. It's literally day one of shooting, and you're not even with your co-star, who is effectively the show. Yeah. And she was only 18 at the time as well. So basically playing the lead in a Saturday night drama and on Disney Plus, you know, I mean, that's some pressure right there.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't think she put up it wrong. She was great throughout. I thought the makeup department put up it wrong, but that's a different issue. It's like oh, you're 40 now, so you can have glasses and slightly longer hair.
Hey, look, if it works for Clark Kent.
Yeah, but Clark Kent ain't going, now I'm older. He's going, now I'm slightly bumbly.
I suppose I didn't really, I don't want to sort of dive in too much because I haven't given my thoughts, but I didn't really follow the passage of time in the same way, I guess, as everyone else, because when she had the glasses and stuff, I hadn't clocked that she was supposed to be 40.
Right.
I was just like, okay, she's got glasses now. I was like, okay.
That is one thing. So I'll be honest, I did quite like the fact that they did that, and it's something Doctor Who's done before. I mean, it's like I find this episode conceptually, it's cross between The Girl Who Waited, which was one where Amy got left on the thing and was old, and then Turn Left. What does a companion do without the Doctor, kind of thing, that sort of thing. And I quite like that, and I thought this was a good amalgam of both of those, as I say, up to a point where I got angry, frankly. I find I've been getting angry quite a lot recently, so maybe that's not so much Doctor Who's fault. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed what they did, and it was, you kind of really had to watch out for those 5 years later kind of things. And then when it was ticking towards that 2046, which had been referenced at the beginning of the episode, and it was kind of like, clearly that's kind of where it was heading. And I quite liked that. I like the fact that Ruby was working towards it and having that slow realization that there was maybe a purpose to what had happened, kind of thing, a purpose to the whole scenario of, and let's face it, the creepiness, which again, I'm not a horror person, but this episode was the right level of creepy for me, with that person just being on the edge of your vision kind of thing. That element to it I thought was really well realized, and they did a really good job filming that, especially with today's cameras where you generally after the crispest picture of everything you can get. I really like that, I must admit. So while, as I say, it lost me after a point, there's a lot to have liked here up until that point, I would say.
Okay, so before we get into what I'll call nonsense time, I'll say that like you, I really, really enjoyed this episode. It wasn't what I was expecting at all, which is why it kind of took me a little while to realise that the Doctor probably wasn't going to be in this episode. I kept expecting her to do something, and then he would suddenly appear, and it would be kind of like, right, now we need to sort this out. I thought she was brilliant in it. I thought that, like, a few people online have compared this to, not everyone will know this show, certainly if you listen to this and you're not in the UK, but there was a show back in the day called Sapphire and Steel, which was creepy as hell, which was Joanna Lumley and David McCallum. That's it.
That was Man from Uncle dude, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they kind of investigated weird phenomenon and stuff like that, and it was proper spooky, and a lot of people have kind of compared it to that, and I would go along with that. I'd also say it kind of reminded me a little bit of like a Twilight Zone episode as well.
Yeah, that's where I kind of went with it, because although I know of Sapphire and Steel, I've never really seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this felt Twilight Zone-y, outer limits, that kind of.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've really, even though like I've got a question about it.
Just the one.
No. We haven't gotten to nonsense time yet. Hold it,
sorry.
Horses.
Right.
I really loved that they brought Unit into it.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you? Because the Doctor's not about, things are kicking off on Earth. So why wouldn't Unit get involved? And I just liked some of the world building around that scene. There's actually quite a lot of world building, I thought, in terms of like, I think she says like, how do you survive without the Doctor? And she's like, that's classified, but by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah.
The fact that effectively looks like there's some sort of welfare fund set up for companions or the Doctor when they come back to Earth. I just loved all of that. It's a question. I want to say, I probably won't say it for nonsense time, but I'm just going to put it in. It's just a question and a thought. I kept thinking when she met up with Kate, I thought that bit was brilliant. Other than how did she know about Unit? She's
So
never encountered Unit before.
yeah, I kind of put that down to that either she'd done a bit of kind of Googling and whatnot and found like a hotline number with, like what's his name in Rose, and he's basically the conspiracy theorist, and he's like searching for blue box and all the rest of it. And Rose is the same.
Yeah.
So it's
Fair
not,
enough.
I put that to that, or that Unit had reached out to her, because I wouldn't put that past Kate to know who was traveling with the Doctor and to notice things were maybe not quite as they should be and to reach out, sort of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Just a part of me that felt a line of dialogue would have helped.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There was a lot to be, because like I say, I couldn't work out who'd reached out to who, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
With that. But yeah, my line on that is yay Unit and then boo Unit.
Well, what I liked, like I said, what I liked about stuff like that is when they brought Unit in. So from the beginning, it kind of subverted my expectations. So first off, I was like, well, the Doctor's going to come back at some stage. Yeah, he does in the last like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And two, the minute I saw Kate and Unit, I'm like, yeah, this is now we're cooking. Unit's
Yeah,
this is all
that was my thing. I thought,
no, they're driving away. Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, I was well up for a Unit episode, and it just a Unit episode without the Doctor almost like a little spin-off series.
Yeah.
I was well up for that, and then I didn't get it, which is why I then put boo Unit.
Like you, I was a bit gutted about that. But it did go to show. I thought it was a great way to kind of up the ante on the level of the mystery and the threat of it all.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I kind of like the Mad Jack stuff, but again, I did like it. I was just trying to think because I think it's one of these episodes you need to watch really closely because the first time around it was such a throwaway line that the Doctor dropped about the politician guy.
Yeah, William, whatever his name was.
Yeah, he nearly took us. Yeah, nearly took us to William nuclear war, but it was kind of a throwaway line that I sort of almost forgot. Because he's always doing that. He's always kind of going, oh yeah,
just referencing stuff randomly.
Exactly. So I kind of almost forgot about it again until it went on, and then he sort of came into it, and I was like, oh, they're almost pulling a sort of Saxon, like the Master type deal. But he was proper, for the limited time that he was kind of in it, he was proper sinister.
I think
nasty piece of work.
And they showed that more, not necessarily through him, because he was always quite charming. Yes. It was through other people, like through, was it Hattie? Marty? Yeah. Marty, the assistant.
Yeah.
And it was just like, because she was quite often there just almost in the background of scenes, but honestly stealing those scenes just by that level of unease that she was presenting without even saying anything, So, again, really good performance.
And you knew something horrible had gone down. And when I think there's a bit where Ruby sort of asks her something about him, like, what do you think? And she's like, oh no, he's a monster.
He's a monster, yeah. And then,
I think that's when she was like, yep, okay.
Yeah, and then there's the bit like at the denouement, as it were, because I'm very French these days, where she's in the, they're in the stadium, and Ruby's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't do anything until I was sure.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, like, almost like that. And honestly, again, takes quite a strength of character to not help someone who you know is in trouble and to let them suffer to the point where, okay, now I can intervene, sort of thing. Like, because obviously she could have before, but it would have ruined her chances of being there at a pivotal moment, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that whole greater good thing. So again, I thought all that stuff was really good. And honestly, even the whole, making sure she was sent 3 yards away so that the mysterious woman could say whatever she was saying to people to make them run away and whatnot. And I liked that. I liked the non-explanation of stuff, I think. And just Ruby's like, well, I've got this resource, which is someone who, if people talk to them, they just get terrified for no reason. Or, for whatever's said to them. And I really liked that. up until the point of nonsense. And that's why I think I got so annoyed with revelations that came later, I think, because I was enjoying that. And for me, that would have been the perfect moment to have that kind of like, and then they're back on the beach and it's reset. And maybe Ruby does remember it.
Yeah.
Or remember bits of it, because obviously it's a long time, but she remembers bits of that life. And I don't like the fact that it was literally a reset and they're back and it's like, oh yeah, no, I think I have been here a third time, but I don't know when. Maybe it's now, sort of thing. That was part of what undermined it for me as well.
Before we move into nonsense time, because I feel like we're skirting around the edge now. The other thing I thought wasn't a particularly good advert for going to Wales.
No, so what annoyed me about like the scene at the beginning, and it's the bit that's in that blurb we read. That's all that is. It's that opening scene, all those opening scenes,
yeah.
And yes, there is an element of when you're in. I've been in Wales, and I'm obviously from Wales. I come from Anglesey, and I remember going to a pub with my best mate, who's also Welsh, and our girlfriends who were English at the time. We were sat in the pub, and the bar staff were talking about us in Welsh, kind of thing, like And we got up, we went, and we just stood at the bar and spoke, had a conversation in Welsh, and we got free drinks, as you can imagine. So that kind of thing does happen, but not to the extent. And I refuse to believe to the extent, especially when you are, pubs are those places that are open to people. Like, they welcome people. The locals themselves might not be so welcoming, but in general, pubs in Wales, as anywhere else, are, come in, have a nice time. They want you to enjoy your time there. And the thing that really annoyed me was it went too far. So you had the whole talk about Mad Jack. And it was really tense, and actually it was like, oh shit, this is a local thing, and it's part of this whole supernatural element that's coming to Doctor 2. And then they all just burst out laughing, and it's like, hang on, that was like, considering you didn't even know what she'd read about Mad Jack, and then you jumped on Mad Jack as a thing that actually happened, and you had the dude there who's like, oh, come for me first, and all the rest of it. It was too. I couldn't believe they were doing that to everyone walking to the pub, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I felt that was a bit OTT, but up until that moment, again, I really bought it. It was like, oh, this is really good, actually. Kind of like there's some local legend here. It's tying into the whole, supernatural forces are out there now, which again, Kate mentioned later. She's like,
yes, that's what I say. Yeah, I quite like that little line where it just said there's more supernatural stuff happening. It sort of ties into like the bigger arc. And I didn't have a problem with in one respect, the gag worked really well because I was in. And then when they started laughing, I was like, oh, it's actually a gag. I got that. But I don't know. There was just something about it. It just seemed a bit mean-spirited because she wasn't trying to sort of go the way they were like saying, you guys, oh, well, quite frankly, that's a bit racist where, oh, right, so we all dabble in local legends, do. Well, anywhere you go, there's local legends and myths and stuff. You go to London, you'll get that. You go to New York, you'll get that. It's everywhere. Do you know what I mean? So I just found the gag worked, but I just didn't like.
It was too far.
To it. Yeah,
it was too far. It's like the bit I did quite like. Again, up until it was real, was like when she said, "Oh, how are you going to pay for it with your phone? How do you do that?" Kind of thing, like And it was a little. Again, it was mean spirited.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good humor joke because I thought, oh, maybe they're in the past, sort of thing, like and then it's no, she was just being a dick. Sort of thing.
Again, that's what I thought. I thought because they hadn't really necessarily established where they were.
No.
So I kind of thought, oh, what if she's gone? What if they've gone back and they're actually they're like in the 70s and stuff, and we just haven't realised it, and that's where we realise it. And it's like, oh no, it's a wind up. I'm like, oh okay, but it was almost like English girl walks into a pub. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, and the thing of it was, she was clearly distressed as well when she walked in. And let's remember, she was a girl. She's 18 years old, and she doesn't look old. It's not like she looks in her 30s.
Yeah. She was wearing glasses.
Yeah, exactly. She had shorter hair, no glasses. She but no, it was literally that thing of it was being mean to someone who was clearly in distress, clearly young, quite possibly had genuinely been in a car accident or something, and was a bit spaced out, and you're just being mean.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's not a good advert for Wales.
Yeah, that was my overall take. I think you could have still. I think you could have still nailed those gags in a different way without it being quite so mean spirited. But hey ho.
Yeah.
I feel we've covered quite a lot now. So also I quite liked when it did. At one point, I was like, "It's gonna go." I knew where it was gonna go. It got to a stage where I was like, the old woman's her, and there's going to be a time jump, and basically it will be when she dies, and then it's going to go back. So I literally was like, yeah, I can see where this is going, but I didn't mind the journey to that point because a significant amount of the episode had gone, so I was like, that's cool. And interestingly, I noticed I went back and watched the beginning and the end again, because what people were saying is, well, surely what she did, because she kind of reset everything, doesn't that mean that the politician guy's still gonna do his thing? But then the argument is that the Doctor had started to talk about that guy.
Yeah, we never finished.
Then he stepped on it. And then when you listen to it again, at the end of the episode, he barely gets into it. And then she tells him, don't step on that thing. And then after that, he never mentions the guy again.
Yeah. And it's one of those things of, I can see this as being something that is they go back to that same moment almost, but it's actually just after, and it's like because I think he says it's the Prime Minister who brought us to the brink of nuke, and then stops.
Yeah,
and the whole point of this obviously is that he had a hard on for nukes and wanted to launch a nuke, basically.
Yeah.
Which I would argue is not the brink of nuclear war. That's basic. That is nuclear war.
That is nuclear war.
Yeah. So I feel like what the Doctor was saying was not what happens in the episode, but it's what happens in the, in inverted commas, real future of that, of the Doctor Who Earth, where he gets to the point of nearly instigating World War III or a nuclear war, and it is prevented by other means, like whether it be a coup or whatever. I don't know, and I think that's what he was getting at. But I quite liked the fact that Ruby got to be a hero in this sense and figure out and sort stuff out. So I did like that. I just did not like, and I kind of thought where it was going up until the moment of where people just started running in terror from her, and then I'm like, well, how's that going to work?
So are we in nonsense time?
I think we're going to enter nonsense territory now. I feel like we're 24 minutes in. Let's nonsense this bad boy up.
All right, nonsense time. Okay, seeing that you were the person that initiated the word nonsense this episode, I feel it's only fair for you to go.
I want a buzzer.
Have at it.
I want a
have at it.
Buzzer.
Nonsense buzzer.
So here's what wound me up. Right, is, as I said earlier, I would have quite liked if it had a reset at the moment of I fixed everything. Yay, hooray, job done.
Well, as in when she gets him to resign.
when she gets him, uses evil woman and stuff, and I kind of, as I say, I saw where they were going, and it's old Ruby, but as soon as I saw that, I thought, but that makes no sense because of the behavior and the actions, because there is literally not a sliver of information as to why old future Ruby can remain 73 yards from her younger self at all times, even when she's on a moving train. Why old Ruby knows exactly the horrific thing to say to people to make them run in terror in any situation, including the most caring woman in the world we've ever seen in Doctor Who, Ruby's foster mother.
Yeah.
Who is affected so badly by it that not only does she basically disown Ruby, she says to her, after all, even your own mother abandoned you.
Yeah, I mean, that was harsh.
you know,
and took out a restraining order.
And took out a restraining order. And those trained unit soldiers all get the same fear message and go away. And Kate, there's no explanation or reason for that. There's nothing that I wouldn't even mind if there was hints of like Ruby finding terrible things about everyone through the episode, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So therefore, when she's older, she could say like, "Oh, actually, Kate, I know for a fact that you're, I don't know, involved in drug trafficking or something. I don't know, whatever." There was none of that kind of explanation. That's where the nonsense started to come in for me. Plus the whole, you know, it's like, are we done now? Because that's the moment to me where I thought, see, when she says to it, "Is that it? Are we done now?" And she, you know, she's looking out the window again with a glass of wine, and I thought that would be it. Old woman fades away, time resets, sort of thing. Yeah. But to then carry on, you've essentially left her another 40 odd years to then die in a deathbed, and then out of nowhere, 73-yard woman becomes 2.5-foot woman, and then suddenly you're back at the beginning doing hand gestures that were not done. Frankly, there was none of this waving around in front of your face at the beginning, because I watched the Doctor Who Confidential, so I know what all those actions were that she was doing, because it was a set routine she was doing the whole time with a set little thing she was saying.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh look, I look so young. And if it stops there, maybe it would have been all right. I don't know, but it just, as soon as that revelation became the thing, I was like, but nothing now makes sense in this episode. And also, why the hell did the Doctor vanish?
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. It's a lot of nonsense to unpack. I'm going to try some of it. So I'll take your first point. I mean, a lot of it I put with the caveat of it's like a kind of, it's Twilight Zone-y, and some things probably will never get explained. And I'm willing to take things with a pinch of salt with that sort of stuff. The Doctor thing, I naturally assumed that he broke whatever it was, the supernatural trap, whatever it was, he broke it, and so effectively he was cursed. He got taken out of the picture. So I don't even think so. Sorry to.
No, that's fine.
I mean, I could be reading it wrong, and I think some of it may be because of the fact that she read something about Mad Jack. But I think I saw a lot of people online saying like that's what she was there for. You know, the reason why that happened was so that she could take out the politician dude.
Mm.
But the way I kind of almost looked at it was like, no. She just got cursed. Or the Doctor got cursed. Whoever did, got, you know.
Yeah.
He got taken out of the picture. She was forced to then survive on her own. Just so happened that he'd obviously mentioned about the politician guy. So obviously it then got to that time period. And then she's like, oh, hang on a minute. I remember him saying to me, that guy's going to bring us to the brink of nuclear war.
Yeah, but so it's more than that, because he also said, you know, when I was in school, they called me Mad Jack.
Oh, okay. So maybe
despite the fact his name wasn't Jack.
Yeah, but I saw it more as the Doctor stepping on it, cursed him, and even though she'd done that thing to take out Mad Jack, when she held the glass up and saying, "Is that, are we done yet?" It was almost like, well, no, we're not done yet, because actually you're still cursed, because until that circle gets repaired somehow, you're just going to keep going. Okay. So when she got sent back,
yeah,
or when she effectively died, it's the other thing which I thought of when I watched it the second time, or watched the end bit of it. It was like she. So I've almost had to write it down on a bit of paper. It's almost like, so when she dies, because you can hear the heartbeat monitor.
Mm.
So she effectively dies. Then she goes backwards in time. That's how I saw it.
So she goes backwards to that point. You think she's working back from that point?
Yeah. She's then working backwards to that point, and then she's saying the don't step bit. I could be wrong, but obviously Ruby then says, "Don't step on that." The Doctor doesn't step on it. Therefore, is not cursed. Job done.
Okay, so first of all, how dare you almost make me come round?
Okay.
because that makes a fair bit of sense. I still don't, and the reason why the whole curse thing I would have really bought if it wasn't for the bit we've already talked about where the locals poo-pooed the idea of Mad Jack and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like I said, the gag still works, and people might have called it a bit too on the nose, but I preferred almost the original way they were going with it, where it was like they were saying effectively, "Oh no,
Yeah,
you stepped on this thing.
You've been cursed now." Yeah,
you've been
absolutely.
Cursed. Do you know what I mean? Because then the explanation's there, boom, done, and you can still have all of the stuff that you've had.
Yeah,
but she's cursed, and it's almost like there's nothing that she can do about it until she dies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and that would have sat a lot better to me. I think it was literally maybe it's just the inner Welshman in me that took massive offence to that scene as a whole.
Right.
But yeah, I think if there'd have been either if it hadn't have been so overdone, it hadn't been a gag. You know, if it had just been a bit kind of like the woman at the bar being, oh, actually, there are some local legends about stepping on fairy. I mean, that's not fairy circle either. Fairy circles are always natural, but that's another thing. That, to be fair, that was an Amy point, not mine. But if it had just been her kind of maybe taking Ruby a bit seriously about it, and everyone else in the pub was a bit more mocking.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was just the fact that it was so in your face as being ha ha ha, what a gag, sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's why it kind of like really didn't work for me. Also, I feel like you worked quite hard there to get to your explanation when you shouldn't have to in a doctor.
No.
I feel like you've done. I feel like you're being me in this episode because it's usually me who's doing this. Right?
Trying to work out, because I also think they were both cursed. Now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of think that he was cursed because he stepped on it.
Yeah.
And she was cursed because she read the notes.
Yeah. And I read one thing online as well that was like the whole Mad Jack thing, and it was basically a thing about, will we see this dude again? Like, you know, almost like a Susan Twist sort of thing. But it was kind of like, or was it like, you know, the kind of like the soul or the demon that is Mad Jack was released into the world and was going to end the world through that guy. And I quite like that. But again, it would have been, I just keep coming back to it. Just the fact that it was poo-pooed in the script itself. Like, you know, because I was starting to go down that road when he said my nickname at school was Mad Jack. I was kind of like, well, hang on a minute, your name's Robert. Yeah, Robert Ap Gwilym. And usually when you've got an Ap in a Welsh surname, it is literally it's like the like Odinson. You know, it is son of as it is. And you don't tend to have a middle name because the Ap is your middle name effectively.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like, again, it's not like he was Robert Jack Ap Gwilym. You know, he was Robert Ap Gwilym. You know, it's, again, it was kind of like that little bit of, maybe I was hoping for more Welshness. I mean, especially going back to that, you know, the locals sit in fear of ancient legends coming to life. No, they don't. They sit waiting for English people to come in so they can mock them. Maybe that's what it is, you know. Maybe that's what it is, because like you said, usually we have these conversations and I do kind of like try and apply some external logic to it, like you've done with this one. I just can't with this one. It's like the whole I appreciate the cursing, and I think that's the angle to go for with it. Again, coming back to the whole supernatural and the toy maker and salt at the edge of the universe and all the rest of it. But I just still would have liked to have seen something more, and almost like not have everyone running in fear of old Ruby, or have people running in fear, but it's kind of things like maybe Ruby's done the research about those people she's met. So, for example, with the first guy who runs away, maybe she knows that, I don't know, one of his kids was going to die in a storm that night or something, and that's why he ran off to try and save them. You know,
Yeah,
and then not bring unit into it. I don't know. There's just something that I wanted to give a bit of logic to the supernatural, I suppose. Maybe that's all it is. I don't know.
well, maybe that's part of the problem, is trying to bring logic to supernatural.
Maybe
but
that
I mean,
is part of the problem, but also trying to bring logic to a Russell T Davies script.
Because I do think there's because I watched some of the confidential stuff, and there was a bit where they asked him, like, what did she say? And he's like, no, I'm never going to tell anyone what she said, and it's all about, what's the worst possible thing someone could say that would make you run away from her and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that as a concept. Okay. Or you actually don't know.
You don't know. You didn't think of it.
You just, you got as far as the idea of, what if this old woman says something to them so horrible that they have to run away. They can't be around her. Then, okay.
Yeah.
But and like I said, going back, because I feel like I don't want to end on a downer, so I have to maybe mention it again afterwards. But
I'll be honest, I don't find this a downer.
No. But what I'm saying is like, we both thoroughly enjoyed the episode. It's just about getting into the nitty-gritty. That's what we do as geeks, and there's guys that have a bit of about it. Yeah. But like, what I thought, I didn't have a problem when there were people, when she went to when she was in the pub and the guy goes out to talk to the woman. Yeah. Well, actually, no. First off, it's Susan Twister, whoever the old woman, Walker, goes and talks to her.
I feel like we need to delay that again now.
Yeah, we do. She goes off, and then it's the guy in the pub, and then he runs off, and then he says, and the landlady says basically he won't come back until.
He says, ask her.
Yeah, ask her. And that's what she says. I want you out so you can come back. Well, once he comes back, surely everyone will be like, so what was it then?
Yeah.
All right, and so again, didn't necessarily have a problem with that. But when you get to the big use, when she effectively weaponizes the monster, for want of a better word, to get rid of Mad Jack, I'm like, okay, great. So she does the whole thing. She walks across the pitch. I thought that bit was quite tense. I actually genuinely thought she was going to get shot.
Yeah, I thought she was going to get to century yards and then be shot.
Yeah, and the last bit of it would be getting rid of the guy. The guy would be running off. She'd be like, oh, I've done it. And then, like you said, everything would then reset. But so she does it. He runs off, and I'm kind of like, okay. But she then goes back to her normal life, I'm guessing. So surely then, why would he resign? Do you get what I mean? So like with her mum, so her mum's a prime example, right? Her mum changed the locks on the door, and then in the end, basically rang Ruby and said, stop coming around. Made that dig about her being abandoned by a real mum, then got an injunction. But effectively, she carried on with her life. It's not like she left the country. So why? So he would have wanted to run away from her. Okay, I get that. But then why would he have then resigned from Parliament?
And this is the thing that got me.
You know what I mean? That was a bit where I was a bit kind of like, I get him running off, that bit of it.
Yeah.
But unless she's going to be
following him at 73 yards or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. I'm going to stay working within the cabinet and blah, blah, blah. But then surely wouldn't he then just go sack her, a bit like what her mum did, like get rid of her.
Problem gone.
I don't want her anywhere near me.
Yeah,
and it's problem solved. Back to launching nuclear missiles.
Yeah, see, I didn't mind that so much because, like I say, bringing in some of that logic that you've brought in and that reason. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Bringing some of that reasoning you've brought in, it's kind of like I can almost see actually that, as I say, Ruby might have then after that event researched those people she'd met and found out those things and realised those things to say, but the ones I couldn't rationalise were her mum and the whole of UNIT.
Yeah, and like you said, even if she researched it, it's like the UNIT thing would knock that out of the window because they've all had training, which is what she effectively says.
Yeah.
So it almost had to be a supernatural power that kind of exuded out. So whatever she said, or whenever she opened her mouth, whatever came out would be the most horrible thing that person would need to hear.
Yeah, on an individual basis as well.
Yes, yeah. Rather than it being like one thing for one blanket thing.
Yeah,
it would be something different for each person.
And especially, you think about it, like with everyone that happens to, they're right up against them, except for Kate.
Yes.
And Kate's, she maybe hears through the earpiece or something. But again, it's kind of like, but that, as I say, in my head, it would have to be a very individual message kind of thing. And there was no explanation or even kind of like, not even explanation, but no kind of like indication of the curse being an actual curse, if you know what I mean. And I think part of it was deliberate. It was very kind of like, yes, let's do a Twilight Zone, Sapphire and Steel kind of thing. But I felt like there needed to be something. And again, I come back to, just don't make that scene a joke in the pub.
Yeah,
tone it down a bit. Done. Tone it down a bit. Job done. Just have the old woman maybe come and sit with her at the table and kind of go, well, actually, I know these people don't believe it, but there is this local legend kind of thing. And do it like that. Maybe that's my problem. As I say, maybe it's just the rural Welshman in me getting pissed off. I don't know. but like I said, there was so much to like about this, especially considering it was the first episode filmed. Millie Gibson I thought was great, and I thought everyone was good. To be fair, like you say, the guy who played the Prime Minister, he was creepy enough. And at that moment where he says, "Yeah, we won't broadcast that bit," when he's asked about it, so it feels like you want to launch it. So yeah, we're not broadcasting that. And there's no like kind of like everyone's literally like, oh shit, yeah, no, we're not. There's no like, well, of course we are kind of thing, like, So I thought everyone was, and to be fair, even like given my qualms about it, I thought Ruby's mum just fantastically delivered lines, and even like the bits running up to it where she's like, I'll go up and talk to her on the phone. Sort of like you be on the phone, you'll hear what's going on. The fact that she put that plan together, it's like, it's, and there was a line about, they're Welsh people, of course they were scared, kind of thing. But it's also that thing of, I'm your mum, dickhead. What am I going to do in this situation? And I again, really well played the whole lot. So yeah, everyone in it did well. I thought the director did a great job as well, because it was filmed creepy as hell. The sound wasn't overpowering. It wasn't like the usual Murray Gold where the music takes over everything. Really well done. Really well done. Everything. It was just, as I say, those elements in the plot really for me that undid it. And it did honestly. I've not felt this irritated by an episode of Doctor. And don't get me wrong, I feel less irritated having spoken to you, which is one of the reasons why I like having these conversations, because we can bring each other out and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm still not there. It's still not in my content. I will watch it again, don't get me wrong, and if I catch it on telly, I will carry on watching it, because I do with any Doctor Who, except for Love and Monsters maybe. But it's, I was wanting more. I think that's maybe the problem. I've really been enjoying the series. Like, I think especially following on from Boom, which was, as we talked about, superbly well done in my view. It just felt like almost like the anti-Boom in some ways. Wow. It was the boob.
Wow. Well, as I had said, I whilst I understand what you're saying, I agree with some of your things, and I had obviously, as I just said, I had my own sort of nitpicks and stuff. I thought overall, I really enjoyed this episode, and I enjoyed what they were trying to do with it as well. I thought, it was a corker.
Yeah, I mean, as I said at the beginning, and it's probably the place to end as well, coming full circle, like the episode, is the concept was really good, and I honestly am quite enjoying this bringing in of the supernatural, because in many ways, Doctor Who, since its relaunch, and a lot of this is the fault of Russell T Davies, to be fair, is the Doctor's become this god himself, this godlike being. So it's kind of like your threats have to be so actually bringing in the series and saying, actually, literally all hell can break loose. It puts you on your back foot, and when episodes like this happen, they put you even further on that back foot, and that's not a bad thing. As I say, my irritation aside, I appreciate what was trying to be done here, and I liked being able to see Ruby and not having that. Yes, there was the comment about, I could make it snow once and all the rest of it, but it wasn't the focus. It was just about her as a human figuring out her place in the world with this, as you say, this curse, and then figuring out what to do with it, and the fact that she could do it, which cements how suitable as a companion she is for the Doctor.
Yeah, and the stripes.
Yeah. So I feel like that's a good full circle and a good place to round up.
Cool. Well,
so round us out, dude.
Yeah, cool. Well, okay. Well, I was going to say, if I'm sure people have, if you've got your thoughts on this episode, then drop us a line. The Geeks at geeksyndicate.co.uk, and also we are on Twitter, we're on X, Facebook, and Instagram. If you want to support the show, you can leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choosing, or you can buy us a virtual coffee via Ko-fi. That's ko-fi, kofi.com. Or you can become a patron and support the show that way. Everything goes back into covering our podcasting hosts and such like.
Wonderful. As ever, it's been a joy talking to you. Honestly, especially this week, because, like I say, I'm feeling now a lot more joyful than I was coming in. I was almost dreading this recording, if I'm honest, because I thought there's so much to like, but there's also so much I felt bad about. So yes, I've really enjoyed it this week. So yeah, as always, awesome talking to you.
Yeah, likewise, buddy.
And we'll see everyone next time for I don't even know what next week's called. Is it Dot and Bubbles or something like that?
Something like that.
Dot. Next time, Dot and Bubble. Dot and Bubble. Yes, it is Dot and Bubble. I literally have it in front of me right here. Yeah. So cool. So we will see you next week for another episode. We're halfway through now. So Hopefully things will start to become a bit clearer as of next week. And we will try and talk about Susan Twist at some point before the finale.
Yes. Where she'll probably no longer be a twist.
yeah, be Susan no twist. Susan straight.
Susan straight.
But yeah, brilliant stuff. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Take care.
Bye all.